Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
and we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Hey, welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is Thursday, May 9th, and I'm Patrick Allen. We are going to have a great show for you today. Just me today, putting in the work for you all, but we got a lot to get to. The Chiefs have wide receivers visiting them. Rashee Rice is in a potentially hot water again. We've got the NFL schedule coming out next week, a bunch of other news, and then we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to do a little Chiefs true or false for the upcoming season. I love to do this stuff, particularly in the off season when we're still figuring out how everything's going to fall. It's fun to look back and get the lay of the land, see what we thought was going to happen, and then look back and see what actually happened. So we'll do a true or false. It's going to be an audience interactive. So if you're watching live, hit me up in the chat. Let me know whether or not you think the thing is true or false. Like, so for example, I'll say Andy Reid is going to shave his mustache. True or false? You say true, you say false, you let me know why. And shout out to the people already in the comments there. I see Rob Miller. We did change that intro a little bit, had to make some adjustments. And shout out to Phantom. Greetings, Chiefs Kingdom. We're going to get into all of that. It's going to be a great show. So hang with me. Interactive show, fun times. We're going to talk some Chiefs. Before we do, though, got to let you know that Caesars Sportsbook is looking to cover your first bet up to $1,000. New customers will get a second chance bet up to $1,000, $1,000 when you sign up with our promo code ARROW1000. That means if your first bet loses, you'll get your full wager returned as a bonus bet up to $1,000. Caesars offers daily profit boosts as well as Caesars reward credits on every wager, which can be redeemed for bonuses, sports tickets, and other VIP experiences. Signing up with our code Arrow1000 not only covers your first bet, but it also gets you access to their fantastic rewards program. If you're looking to join Caesars, go download the app and register with our promo code Arrow1000 to make sure your first bet is covered. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 and older and physically present in a legal gambling state. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check out the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. Speaking of gambling, I won like $500 over the weekend on the Kentucky Derby. I placed a wager, and this is the second time in 10 years I hit a trifecta. I don't know anything about sports, about horse racing. But I love watching the Triple Crown. I like betting on it. It's a lot of fun. And my wife and I went out to get something to eat, and we were sitting there. Actually, funny enough, at a place called Horse Thief Hollow, fantastic brewery and a restaurant down here on the south side of Chicago. And I'm like, let me just pull out my phone. I want to make a couple bets. I always bet on the race. And we've been busy. We got a baby coming. We've been doing all that stuff. And I didn't have time to do any research. And I just started looking at the odds, and I put together a couple combinations. And my strategy is always to throw a long shot in there and mix in the favorites and then box it. So that if one of those long shots get in there and there's actually a decent payout, I'll make out. And I don't know if you've ever bet on sports on horse racing, but those trifectas, if a long shot gets in there, you bet 50 cents and you can win a lot. So that's what I did, man. I bet 50 cents and I won $500, almost 600 actually. Incredible. So that at least covers my bets for the last 10 years. So we'll see. Maybe I can get something at the Preakness. I see Rafiq in the chat says 3-peat for the Chiefs. Let's go. And he's asking about Zay Jones. We're going to get to that, man. Okay, so let's dive into the news. But do me a favor first. If you're watching right now on YouTube, it's just me, so it's not going to be as interesting as it usually is. So hit the like button. Hit the like button. Brian says you must be from Chicago. I am from Chicago. Well, I'm not originally from Chicago, but I live here now. Okay, so let's dive into the news. Let's start talking Chiefs, unless you want more sports, like horse racing tips from me. Zay Jones is visiting the Chiefs today. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with Zay Jones. He was actually originally drafted, I believe, by the Bills. He bounced around a little bit of a journeyman. I'm going to pull up his stats for you right now. But like, this is an interesting visit for me for the Chiefs. And in fact, as soon as I saw that he got released, I was kind of on board with the Chiefs checking him out, kicking the tires on him a little bit. I think he could be a good depth piece for the Chiefs. Now, he got 800 yards for the Jaguars a couple of years ago. And I'll pull up his full stats here for you. So drafted by the Bills in the second round, came in 2017. Never really got rolling too much in Buffalo. 316 yards as a rookie, 652, only played 5 games in 2019, 69 yards. Then he goes to the Raiders and doesn't do a ton there either in his first couple of years, 147, 154. And then he has a season where he gets 546 yards, 70 targets, 47 receptions. 2022 signs with the Jaguars, and his first year there with Trevor Lawrence, gets targeted 121 times, catches 82 balls, has 823 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. I mean, we would have killed for that last year on the Chiefs if you could have swapped out MVS for that. But then in 2023, he only plays in 9 games, 64 targets, 34 receptions, 321 yards, 2 touchdowns. They put his age in here. I think he's 29 at this point. So, and he's met with 3 other teams. He's met with the Cowboys, Titans, and Cardinals. Look, is Zay Jones going to come in and like single-handedly take over the Chiefs wide receiver room and, go for over 1,000 yards? No. But, he's an interesting prospect. He's not a prospect, but he's an interesting player. He's experienced. He's kind of a bigger guy as well. I'm pulling that up as well. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. So a little bit of a bigger guy. The Chiefs the wide receiver core is a little bit smaller right now with Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. So they're getting a little bit more size in there. Let me know in the chat, like, what do you guys think about the potential of Zay Jones? Obviously, like I said, 29 years old. His birthday's in March, so he just turned 29. Receivers kind of, around age 28, they can maybe start to tail off a little bit. I like him as a potential depth piece if the price is right? And that's probably, and of course, like, what's the medical situation? He's dealt with injuries in the past. He's been to 3 teams already, and nobody's signed him. And so generally, like, if you go to a team, they're interested in you, and you go and you work out for them, and they're enamored with you, like, and they really think you can help their team, they don't want you to leave the building without a contract. So now that doesn't necessarily mean that the teams that saw him didn't like him, but they may have a price that they're willing to pay. And it's not crazy for Zay Jones to go out there and do a tour, meet with different teams, find the best fit for him, and find the best fit and find the best fit for his pocketbook too, right? Like, he wants to get paid. So going and checking out all these teams, not just signing with the first team that gives him an offer. He's probably not getting more than a 1-year deal, would be my guess. In this situation, maybe he snags a 2-year deal from a team that really likes him, but that second year is funny money, or is basically a team option. We will see. But Phantom says, with the Rice situation, Chiefs are in react mode. I agree. We're going to talk about Rashee Rice in just a minute here. Clear the air with E says he reminds me of Juju. Yeah, I think so. He had a couple good seasons. I just think the Chiefs need some veteran guys. Obviously, they have Hollywood Brown, but he's on a short-term deal. Xavier Worthy's a rookie. And as we're going to talk about, and we already knew this to some degree, Rashee Rice is going to be suspended for part of the season at least. So you get some veterans in there, get some more reliable people in there that you thought MVS was going to be for you last year. They still got Watson hanging around, but like I like Zay Jones. Because it's like the expectations are like, can he come in? Can he catch the ball? Number one. And can he come in and can he give you 400 yards with the guys that they already have, on the low end? And then if he gets enough playing time because of injuries or suspensions and stuff like that, can he get you 600 yards? It's not like he's going to be the first option, right? Like Travis Kelce's your number one. Then you're going to Hollywood Brown and or Rashee Rice, and then you're going to Xavier Worthy. So it's not like you want Zay Jones out there for 1 million snaps every game. You want him to be able to come in there, take advantage of the fact that there's so many other guys in front of him, beat some one-on-one coverage, and make a few plays downfield for you in the way that Watson's done for the Chiefs. So, like, I've got no problem with it as long as they're not asking for some sort of bananas amount of money, because he hasn't really earned that. Soft Flip says, Zay will never have better stats than Rashee Rice this season, but he will actually play. Fair point. We'll see what happens with the suspension. Rob says KC needs to act now. Rafiq says, I think Zay Jones is worth adding if the money is not too much. Absolutely, right? Like Brian says, he's second on my list. I'm pulling for Renfro, a.k.a. Chiefs version of Wes Welker. Renfro had a really good season a couple years ago for the Raiders. Caught like 1 million balls. And they were calling him, as I recall, the nickname that they had for him on the team was Third and Renfro, because the dude was just moving the chains. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank. I'm not exactly sure how old he is at the moment. He's getting up there as well. But yeah, Zay, Hunter Renfro, anybody like that that's a reliable target for Patrick Mahomes, sign me up. Rob Miller says, you gotta play with Patrick Mahomes. That's the pitch. Yeah, you get to play with Patrick Mahomes. Interesting comment here from Ravington Photo. Says, Rice reminds me of Larry Johnson. You never know what he's going to do next. 50-yard touchdown or something stupid like punching someone. Yeah. So let's move on with the news. We're going to get into all of it. And then, of course, that's a nice segue into Rashee Rice is in hot water again. He's not even out of the hot water that he got into first this offseason. And now it's just so here's the deal. If you haven't heard, Dallas authorities are looking into a situation in which a person matching Rice's description maybe hit a photographer at a club in Dallas called Lit Kitchen. Lit Kitchen. Where do they come up with these names for a club? Look, man, I was never a club guy, so I'll just put that out there right now. I wasn't cool in that way. Nobody wanted to see me dance. I didn't have enough money to sit at a table and get bottle service. So I went to a club. I lived in New York City for 10 years. I went to a club one time. And that was good for me. Just wasn't my scene. I'd much rather be in the dive bar, like playing darts. You know what I mean? Ruben says, do we sign Zay? No, I don't think yet. They haven't signed him yet. Clear says, a lot of the story doesn't make sense. Definitely the latest story. So yeah. So like, here's what the recent update that I read before the podcast. And I was interviewing somebody an hour before this. So if anything has changed, but the last that I saw from the Dallas Morning News, I'm going to read you the quote. No charges have been filed, but new information arose from Dallas Morning News Thursday that a police report obtained by the newspaper alleging that a suspect matching the age, height, and weight of Rashee Rice lured a photographer to the club after he'd already left via Instagram messages inviting him back, only to hit him upon his arrival. So Phantom says, with a name like Lit, what do you expect to happen, right? So look, I'm going to engage in some conjecture here, right? I don't know if Rashee Rice was involved in this at all. So as I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about it as if he was involved in it, if he was involved in it. Okay. It sounds like this last paragraph that I read you is weird. It kind of sounds like maybe the photographer was there. They had some sort of altercation, or he was taking pictures of Rashee. Like, I don't know. And that he was mad and wanted to have words with him, got him back to the club. Like, this is very specific stuff, right? Luring somebody back via direct messages on Instagram. Very specific stuff. Again, we don't know if this even was Rashee Rice. We don't know if it happened. But if it did, it just, what an idiot. There's been no comment from Rashee Rice and his lawyers, and there's no comment from the photographers. Nobody wants to talk. So maybe this whole thing just goes away, and it's up to the police if they want to pursue any charges or anything like that. But like, here's the thing, okay? I'm not saying that Rashee Rice is guilty. But a lot of people got mad when we were talking and speculating about the accident that happened. And people were like, it wasn't him. I saw the pictures. I'm sure of it. I stared at him. It was him. And people were like, you shouldn't even talk about it because you don't know. And it's like, well, look, we've got to talk about it because it's not good that the Chiefs' star rookie wide receiver is tied up in this. Like when there are reports the police are looking for Rashee Rice in connection with something bad that happened, that's not good. And so now this incident pops up. He's facing felony charges on the drag racing incident. Very serious. I think everybody thinks it's going to plead out or whatever first time, but like it's still bad, very bad, and people could have gotten killed. This incident, if he was involved, does not nearly meet the level of the incident, the drag racing incident, where people could have died. But if he was involved in it, what it does is it shows, like, what did we say after the drag racing incident? I hope Rashee Rice learned his lesson. He's very lucky nobody was killed. This could have been very serious. Hopefully this will be a wake-up call for the young man. I specifically said something along the lines of Rashee Rice has a winning lottery ticket. He just won a Super Bowl, went over 1,000 yards as a rookie, second-round pick. Like, he is a winning lottery ticket. He almost just threw it all away. Just hopefully this is a wake-up call and a learning experience. And now here we are, like just a couple of weeks later. And we're hearing headlines of Rashee Rice, police, somebody getting punched, the club. You remember like Herm Edwards? I don't know if you guys ever saw these clips of him, and he would always say, a couple ththings, right? When it came to Twitter, you're going to get yourself into trouble. He'd always say, don't press send. Don't press send. And then he also said, maybe it was Herm. I could be misremembering. This might be a common phrase. Nothing good happens after midnight, right? Nothing good. Like you're out. Nothing good happens after midnight. You're a young man, wealthy man, star. You're out at the club after midnight. What are you doing? You're drinking. You're hanging out. It's like So the reason that the drag racing incident happened is because Rashee Rice has poor judgment, piss poor judgment. Okay, that was an act of selfishness that could have taken the lives of some other people. Why? Because they wanted to race their fast cars. Man, you're loaded. Go rent a racetrack or something if you want to race your cars where you can't hurt anybody else but yourselves. It's immature behavior, selfish behavior, bad judgment. Boy, what a wake-up call. You're embarrassed. Somebody could have gotten killed. It cost you a bunch of money. You're facing felonies, your life, your career, all that's potentially going out the window. So what are you going to do? I'm really into the Stoics, right? And a big part of Stoic philosophy is it's not like, how do you respond to things that happen to you? Now, the Stoics think like you can't control a lot of things that can happen to you, but you can control how you respond. Rashee Rice could have controlled what happened to him, but now it happened to him. How are you going to move forward in life? And what does he do? He goes to the club. He goes to the club. Man, if I was Rashee Rice, is there anything wrong with going to the club? No. Are people who are dumb and got into car accidents not allowed to go out and have fun? Of course they are. But like, if I'm Rashee Rice, or if I'm anybody that's an advisor to Rashee Rice, who's talking to Rashee Rice, I'm like, bro, lay low. Lay low. You still have felonies against you in Dallas, in Texas, for what you did before. You don't need to go out right now. You need to be talking to your lawyers, training, and trying to make amends in any way you can for the idiotic situation that you caused before. Instead, you're like, ah, man, hey, it's my time off. I'm going to go out. And now look what happened. You put yourself in a situation where now you're being investigated by the police again. So when you come out and you say, I'm really sorry about the stupid shit that I did, and I'm going to pay for everybody's car and all that stuff he said through his lawyer, what do you think the judge and juries are going to think, or the prosecutors, when 2 weeks later, the cops are investigating you for maybe luring some photographer to a club and punching him? Are they going to believe you when you say you've learned your lesson? Are they going to believe you when you say, Judge, I'm not a risk to anybody in the public anymore because I've learned my lesson. This scared the shit out of me. I could have killed somebody. I'm going to make it right, and I'm going to change my behavior. Rashee Rice, it seems, has learned nothing. So I don't know what's going to happen. But like this situation, maybe they don't press charges, and the cops are like, it's not worth it. It's going to be taken into account. The judge and the NFL and the Chiefs. And like, boy, I'll tell you what, if you're only counting that drag racing incident as one strike, like the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid's son got drunk and got into a car accident in another act of selfishness and ruined a little girl's life. They should have a zero tolerance policy for this kind of crap. So if you're being generous enough to considering the drag racing thing one strike, like there's no leash, man. Stop it. Like if he does something else, they might cut him. I'm serious, man. Like they've got Xavier Worthy now. They've got Hollywood Brown. Like they don't need it. They don't need this. Like they put up with stuff with all the distractions with Tyreek Hill. He's Tyreek Hill. Rashee Rice is a really good player. He ain't Tyreek Hill. It just sucks, man. Like I'm just a fan, and like I'm not trying to sit up here and be like the moral judge and jury. I'm just telling you what the situation is. The situation is this guy's fucking it up. He's fucking it up. And that sucks for me as a fan. It sucks for those people in the car accident who have to deal with all this crap now. It sucks for this photographer who got punched. Maybe he deserved it. I don't know. But like, you just got to know better. And so you'd hope that he would learn his lesson. As Rafiq says, I agree. Laying low is the way to do it. Yeah, he's got a target on his back, right? Like he just did this thing. He's out in Dallas. For photographers, you're famous, you're rich. Like they're going to be taking your picture. Rashee Rice out at the club after causing it. That's what happens, man. Like you signed up for this. It comes with the big ass paycheck that you get. It comes with the endorsements and the notoriety and the Super Bowl trophy. So like he doesn't need me to tell him. He should be smart enough to figure this stuff out on his own. But as a Chiefs fan, as somebody who wants the Chiefs to win, and I would generally prefer the Chiefs to have good people on the team because I like rooting for good people to do well and succeed. And most everybody in the NFL is. This guy's fucking it up, man. And he's gonna fuck it up for himself, his family, us, his fans. So like, I don't know what else to say, man. Rashee, if you see this, get it together, bro. Like, get it together. Oh man, it's just so frustrating. It's just so frustrating. Joshua Clayton says, Club Lit Kitchen, LMFAO. What a hilarious name for a club. Yeah. It just, you got to make better decisions, man. Like you got to make better decisions. I was an idiot. I'm still an idiot. He's a young kid. Like I have sympathy for him in that regard, but some of this stuff is serious. Like the car racing stuff is serious. I just hope I honestly do. Like I've seen interviews with him. He seems like a nice guy. I hope he works it out. He's talented. He's fun and exciting to watch. But man, it's frustrating. All right. NFL schedule comes out next Wednesday. So you need to make sure you're here. We happen to have a Wednesday show here on Arrowhead Addict, and I'm pretty sure it goes live right around the time. Josh Clayton says 24 years old isn't a kid anymore. I'm 40. I'm turning 41 on Monday, so it's a kid to me. look, man, the schedule comes out next Wednesday. You're going to want to check out our Wacky Wednesday show. We're going to have coverage of that. We already know who the Chiefs are going to play. We just don't know the order. We don't know the primetime games. And I'm going to have a question about this in the true or false section that we're going to get to about whether or not the Chiefs, like, who are they going to play on opening night? Like, that's going to be one of the ones here. But let's just run through the schedule right now and talk a little bit about it. So at home, of course, the Chiefs get the AFC West opponents. So they'll play the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chargers. They get the Ravens at home, the Bengals, the Texans, the Saints, and the Buccaneers. So tradition is that the Super Bowl champion gets to open the season on Thursday Night Football with a home game. So that's going to be the opener. It's going to be either the Broncos, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Texans, the Saints, or the Buccaneers. So I just looking at me, like, for me, you cross off the Buccaneers. I don't think anybody's clamoring to get Baker Mayfield in the first game of the season. Same thing, all due respect to Derek Carr and the Saints. Like, they've got some interesting players, but it's not going to be them. It's not going to be the Raiders. Raiders are a popular team and would be a good matchup for that reason from a television standpoint, but they don't really have a quarterback. They've got an interim coach that's got promoted to coach. And it's same thing with the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to be really bad. You have the Sean Payton factor. There's some allure to that, but they're just not going to be good. And I don't think that's the team that you want on opening night. And usually they don't do divisional games. But if it was going to be a divisional game, I think it would be the Chargers, right? Because you get the Harbaugh effect. Plus they take like Ladd McConkey. They took Jerry Rice's son. And you've got Justin Herbert. So that's like, okay, Harbaugh's here now to save the day. New era, go into Arrowhead, knock off the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to do it because it's probably not going to be the case that the Chargers get like shot out of a cannon just because Harbaugh's there. Maybe Andy Reid did it with the Chiefs. I would like to see it. I think it would be interesting. Plus, I'd like to get them early, but it's a possibility. AFC Championship game rematch with the Ravens. I think that could be a really compelling opener. I would love to see that. Will the NFL do it? It's one of those things, these TV, like, there's the rights and the networks are fighting for the games. Certain teams, they're going to want that game, maybe later, a Sunday Night Football game, something like that. Marquee matchup later in the season. A lot of people were last year when it was the Lions, people were like, the Lions, they were like the next team up and they knocked off the Chiefs. That was good. Like, that was good TV, right? Not for Chiefs fans, but for everybody else who heard everybody laugh about it being the Lions and all the other people who want to see the Chiefs lose. That's what you got. So I think the Ravens would be one of my favorite options. I'm not sure if that's going to be it. Then you got the Bengals, Joe Burrow, the Chiefs, Burrow coming back from injury. That's a good one. That would probably be my favorite one to see. I just don't know if it's going to happen. Burrow coming off the injury, they may want to give some time, let him get warmed up before some of those marquee games as far as primetime goes. And then, of course, you've got the Texans. The Texans are like this year's Lions. C.J. Stroud, rookie quarterback, comes in, lights it up. They look really good. Exciting young receivers, explosive offense. That would be my bet. We're going to talk about it later in True and False, but I've set the primer for you. On away, you've, of course, got the AFC West, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders. Then you get the Falcons. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. The Bills don't have any receivers. But we do have to go to Buffalo, tough place to play. The Panthers, probably not going to be any good. The Browns, who knows? Good defense. The Steelers, who knows? Good defense. And the Super Bowl rematch. Again, this year we get a Super Bowl rematch with the 49ers in their house out there in San Francisco. So I think it's a good balanced schedule for the Chiefs. Some tough games in there. Houston's a tough one. I think Harbaugh's could give the Chiefs problems. Both Harbaughs, obviously the Ravens you got to deal with, but otherwise the home slate and of course the Bengals. Home slate not too bad. Away slate you got some layups in there, or games that should be layups. Raiders, Broncos, Panthers, Falcons. and some tougher places to play. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, those NFC or AFC North teams are tough. And of course, Bills and 49ers. It's going to be interesting. You can start doing your predictions on the primetime games, but next Wednesday, it'll be out. But like, be ready, because on Monday, stuff will start leaking, and all day Wednesday, sometimes half the damn schedules leak. Joshua Clayton says Falcons definitely winning that division. Oh yeah, I forgot that they got Kirk Cousins. Yeah, that Falcons game's tougher than I thought. They've got some guys over there, right? Drake London, Bijan Robinson, the tight end. Yeah. My bad on that. Falcons game tougher than that could be one the Chiefs lose. Actually, they better bring their game for that one. Okay. And then the last little news bit before we get to true and false, OBJ was intrigued by the Chiefs. This is according to Jeremy Fowler. As we know, the Chiefs, they tried to sign OBJ a couple times, never worked out. Odell Beckham Jr., here's what Fowler said. Odell Beckham is betting big on Mike McDaniel unlocking him. Of course, Beckham signed with the Dolphins. He wants to produce. He still wants to be a prime target. He feels like the Dolphins can help him get there. Now he has the upside package of a little over $8 million, so they can so a sweet spot there in the negotiation. There were some other teams in the mix. I was told Kansas City was appealing to Odell Beckham, Buffalo as well. But in the end, he believes this offense can help him prove something. This is a player who put up less than 600 yards last year in Baltimore. Probably didn't go the way he wanted. So he's going to go to the third option, of course, behind Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But he feels like there's enough footballs to go around. Yeah, look, man. I mean, I don't blame him. Like, why would you want to go to Kansas City when you can go to Miami, right? And everybody's terrified of Tyreek Hill and worried about Jalen Waddle. And you can get like the third string, the third cornerback there, and try to work him over because you haven't had it forever. Like, I mean, this has any guy, maybe Jadeveon Clowney, but has any player in the history of the NFL rode like one play or like one season of production to as much hype as Odell Beckham Jr.? I mean, Jadeveon Clowney for that hit in college, Tim Tebow for his college play. But like this dude, like, look, all right, I said one season. He did have 3 really productive seasons for the Giants. Caught 101 balls in 2016, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, 1,450 and 13 tutties, 1,310. But since then, like, I mean, he left New York after a 300-yard season, went to Cleveland, had 2,000-yard seasons there. Wasn't really dominant like he was in New York. And then since then, man, here's his production. 319 yards in Cleveland, 232 yards in Cleveland, injured all the time. 305 yards with the Rams, did get a Super Bowl ring. And then 555 yards in Baltimore. Look, I'm not saying this guy's a bum or he doesn't have something to contribute. But like, yeah, man, I know why he signed with Miami, because they were willing to pay him $8 million, and he's not going to have to deal with the best cornerbacks. And at this stage of his career, that's smart. So this is a smart move by him, but like, he's just an average receiver really at this point with some above average skills. And there was no way the Chiefs were going to sign him for $8 million. They weren't going to do it. And probably the Bills didn't want to do it either. Like if he thought he was still like the alpha dog, he should have went to Kansas City, or he definitely should have went to Buffalo. They've got nobody. So, it's great that he thought it was intriguing. Of course it was intriguing. You get to catch balls from Patrick Mahomes. Now you got to catch balls from Tua Tagovailoa. Good luck. Because if I'm Tua Tagovailoa, man, they better hold up on the offensive line, because I'm not looking OBJ's way first. Oh, you're gonna need time to get the ball. He might do well there. McDaniel, he's a good coach, explosive offense, but I'm kind of glad he didn't land in KC, because I just want to. He comes with a media circus. He's got that star personality, and like the Chiefs got enough sideshow going on with their other receiver, Rashee Rice. They don't need what OBJ brings. Okay, hit that like button, by the way. You're watching the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I'm Patrick Allen, your Thursday host. This is the OG show. That's my new nickname for it with Verderam. It's the OG show. It's the original. Not necessarily the best, but the original. So we always appreciate your support when you're out there on YouTube. All right, before we get to true and false, I wanted to do some podcast reviews because you guys hook us up when you like this podcast. Our video audience has grown so much, but our audio growth has slowed down a little bit. We need you guys. The audio listeners are just as big of a part of this show. I know we shoot it live now. Some of you have been with us forever, and the audio audience is equally as large as the video audience. So we need to attract more audio listeners. And one way you can help us, it's a way to support the show without spending a dime. All I need you to do, if you've been listening to the show for a while, is head on over to Apple Podcasts, because they're like the king of podcasts. And it's really hard on the audio side to help your show stand out. It's easier on YouTube because it's more like a search algorithm. People come into YouTube and you watch another Chiefs podcast on here and it'll suggest Arrowhead Addict, and that's great. On audio, man, it's tough. Like you're the mercy of Apple's algorithm. People search for Chiefs, it only shows you a couple podcasts. So the way that we get moved up in the algorithm is, one, listenership, but two, also reviews. It helps people. It helps us move us up in the ranks and helps people find the show. It's a lot harder to find. So this, if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, ask us a question if you want, and I'll answer it on the show. I will do it. Almost anything you ask. But leave us that 5-star review. So this is from back in April. So I'm a little bit late on this. That's my bad. From Brencato. Review title was #1 Chiefs podcast. These guys know their NFL and Chiefs and present it in a way that is enjoyable to listen to with some fun banter between the guys, but not painfully so. Some podcasts just can't get out of their own way. Not these guys. They are the only Chiefs podcast I turn to. Appreciate you, Brencato. Amazing review. Appreciate the kind words. There are a lot of great Chiefs podcasts out there, but I'm glad that you found a home here with us. And if I can get a little bit sentimental, just for a second, I've been doing this podcast since the year after the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl win. And man, there haven't been many times where I've missed a week here and there. But I've been on almost every Thursday show or multiple shows a week for years and years and years. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere, but I am for a little while. If you've been listening to the show for the last few months, my wife is pregnant, and we're heading in the 37th week here, and we're just a couple weeks away from having this little guy. We're really excited. And Conway Liddy says, my favorite Chiefs podcast by far. Appreciate you, man. So next week, now look, at this point, she's like a live grenade with the pin pulled. She could go at any time. But next week is scheduled to be my last show for a while I go on leave. Matt Verderam has been so gracious. He's going to be taking over, my old pal, for you guys on Thursday. So you're going to be in fantastic hands, better hands than you are with me alone. But so I just wanted to say, like, it's one thing I was thinking about that I'm going to miss about work a lot is how much I love doing this podcast and talking Chiefs with all of you guys, even in the off season, even when we're struggling to find topics. Like, you guys are so awesome. We've got such a great community at the Arrowhead Addict podcast of people that support the show, that are our members, in the Discord. I've gotten to know people, meet people in Kansas City. Like, it's great. So I'm really going to miss you guys when I head out. And I wanted to say something today just because, it's possible she could go into labor next week and I won't be on the show and I won't be able to talk with you guys about the Chiefs schedule and all that stuff. And it's that's my favorite thing a year is the schedule release. I love it. So I just wanted to say I'll miss you guys just in case this is my last show. And if not, I'll do it all again next week. But this podcast means a lot to me. You guys mean a lot to me. The Chiefs mean a lot to me. It's made my whole career, really influenced my life. And so it's no small thing to be walking away from the show for me, because it really means a ton to me. So, but I'm really excited. I'm excited about the baby that's coming, our first child. And it's going to be wild, man. Like, it's just going to be quite a ride. And I'm an adventurous sort. So I'm excited to have my son crash the podcast, like Verderam's daughter, Maisie, crashes the podcast and all that stuff someday. So yeah, it's going to be a wild ride, and I'll be thinking about all of you. And thank you for your support. So, and thank you to everybody who's making the nice, kind comments in the chat. Appreciate you guys, and I'll miss you as well. All right, let's get into it now. True or false? I made a promise we were going to do this. We're doing it. So interactive part of the show for sure. I'm going to throw out a true or false. I want to know what you think. While you're telling me what you think, I'm going to tell you what I think. And then I'm going to read some of the responses that you guys put in the YouTube chat. So, and if you're an audio listener and you're listening to this later, 5-star review on Apple, tell me the true or false, and we'll get to it later. Okay, let's kick it off. True or false? The Chiefs will play the Houston Texans in the opener. So I already broke down a schedule for you. I kind of told you what I thought on this one. I'm going to go with true on this one. I just think it's such an obvious one. My preference, like I said, would be the Bengals. Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. We didn't get to see that last year, even though the two teams played. I just think there's a lot of drama in that, right? Burrow comes back from the injury. What if they knock off the Chiefs? Like, if you're the NFL, it sort of sets the table for the season. From a fan perspective, I'd love to see the Chiefs beat the crap out of Joe Burrow in his first game back and knock them down a peg when they're going to have a lot of competition in the AFC North. Like, I think the Steelers are going to be better. I think the Browns will be good again. And of course, the Ravens are the team to beat, in my opinion. I'd love to see the Ravens as well rematch the AFC title game to kick off the season. I think would be a lot of fun, but it's Houston, it's the Texans. CJ Stroud was electric last year. I'm an Ohio State guy. So that's the way I think it's going to go. So it's true for me. Ruben says true. Zen says true. Conway says true. Brian says false. Who do you think, Brian? Lay it on us in there. Who do you think it's going to be? Angry Drunken Sherman says they'll save the big AFC and division rivalry games for late in the year. Yeah, that's kind of the way I think that I'm going on it as well. This is an important game though, because the Texans, if they take a leap forward, the Chiefs would like to have a victory over them if they're looking for that number 1 seed. Conway says new young blood versus the reigning champion. That's right. It's who's going to be Patrick Mahomes' rival. It was Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and then it's Joe Burrow, and now here comes CJ Stroud. You got Aaron Rodgers, if he can stay on the field, coming back to the New York Jets. Like, the AFC is going to be absolutely fascinating to watch this year with all of these quarterbacks. And now the NFC is starting to load up on some quarterbacks as well. Brian says, he said it was false. He thinks it's going to be Cincinnati. I'd love that. Like, sign me up for that. Jamar Chase. Don't know what's going to happen. T. Higgins requested a trade, which I think is hilarious. But Joe Burrow coming back. I'd love to. Give me Cincy. Give me Baltimore over the Texans, just from a drama factor. But I think it's going to be the Texans. Rafiq says false. I believe it will be the Ravens, the last 2 MVPs. Yeah, I'm with you, man. That would be such a good matchup. Like, that was a good game. Yeah, it had a lot of drama in it with L'Jarius Sneed causing the fumble, and Lamar Jackson like having to deal with more of the criticism, and he can't get by Mahomes and the big game in the playoffs and all that stuff. I just think it would be a really super entertaining game to start the season because you've got Harbaugh, you've got Andy Reid, 2 excellent long tenured coaches, 2 dynamic, exciting quarterbacks to watch, 2 really strong defenses. Like, it's got everything you want, I think, in an NFL opener. And it's a rematch. So, like, there's bad blood. Like, the last game the Ravens played was against the Kansas City Chiefs. So why not start the new season and be like, all right, do-over. Here were your 2 best teams last year. Who gets the early bragging rights? But I think it's going to be Houston. Joshua Clayton says that was a defensive battle. Yeah, absolutely. Conway says that would bring in ratings for sure. Yeah, agreed. Okay, next, true and false. Xavier Worthy will have over 700 yards receiving as a rookie. This one I really went back and forth on because on one hand, like, yeah, he's electric. He could hit some big plays. But on the other hand, and like Rashee Rice did it last year, right? He went for 1,000. But on the other hand, like Tyreek didn't his first year. He was Xavier Worthy's more of a Tyreek than he is a Rashee Rice. So does he get used in a similar way, like as a returner, some of those gadget plays as he learns the route tree, as he builds trust with Patrick Mahomes? Because if Rashee Rice is out on the field, I don't see him maybe getting to 700 yards. I could see him being more of like a 400, 500-yard guy where he doesn't do anything and then he gets like a couple big plays and hits them and gets used in a couple of different ways. So I'm going to go true on this one, and I'm going to tell you why. If Rashee Rice wasn't facing possible suspension, I would say false and agree with those of you in the chat that are saying false. But because of the suspension, I think they're going to need to lean on him more early. And we don't know when the suspension will come. It might not be at the beginning of the season. So especially if Rashee Rice gets suspended for 5 games in the middle of the year. Andy likes to bring these rookies on slowly. We saw it with Rashee Rice last year. That would be prime time for him to step in. Rather as the beginning of the year where you're asking a lot more of him than maybe he's ready for as a rookie. But I'm going to go true. Rashee Rice is going to get suspended. I think it's going to be a significant amount of games, and I think Xavier Worthy is going to get the football. Conway says false. I believe we will get jet sweep more often. Very true. They're going to use him that way. Brian says true. Joshua says false. Andy doesn't play rookies. Unless he absolutely has to. He may not have to as much. It depends on that suspension. Angry Drunken German says Worthy likely has 500 to 700 total yards. Oh, interesting. Okay. I think total yards he could get more than 700. But Angry Drunken German says 500 to 700 total. Conway says some of the old trickery. Zen, is it Zen or Chen? How do you pronounce that? Let me know. Says true as long as he stays healthy. Angry Drunken German says he'll do some trickeration and jet sweep motion. Won't be shocking to push off Rashee Rice's case until next year. Yeah, it just depends on the court system. Sometimes the NFL waits to see how these things play out. But I think this is going to be a situation where, like, I don't think there's going to be like a trial problem. Like hopefully they work out a plea deal. He can't plead not guilty. Like he's on video. And they've already owned up to it kind of. So we'll see. It's going to be weird how fast the legal system does not move fast. I said it right the first time. Zen. Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you. That's how you say it. All right, cool. You never know with an X. Interesting. Okay, next up, another Xavier Worthy question. And this kind of goes right along to it. Xavier Worthy will have more receiving yards than Rashee Rice. Xavier Worthy will have more receiving yards than Rashee Rice. True or false? I'm going to go, man, like Joshua Clayton saying, again, how long is the suspension going to be? I'm going to go false. There's 17 games in the season. When Rashee Rice is out there, I think he's going to be productive. I think he might even be more productive because of the presence of Hollywood Brown, freeing him up a little bit. I don't think Xavier, even with the suspension, I think Rashee Rice in his second year should be better, more trusted with Mahomes. He'll get better coverages than he did last year. He won't have, so yeah, I'm going false. He won't have more. Craig says Worthy's going over 1,000. He's already picking up the playbook. I hope you're right, man. That would be fantastic. Ruben says false. Craig says true. Conway says I choose or LOL. I don't know what that means. All right, let's hit the next one here. Joshua says false. Okay, Travis Kelce will have 1,000 yards receiving this season. True or false? He would have last year without the injury or without sitting out that last game. He's a year older. The Chiefs have said they're really going to restrict his snaps this year, which is smart. So he may play less than he ever has before. Will he get to 1,000 yards? Zen says true. Rafiq doesn't think Rashee Rice is going to be suspended until 2025. Interesting. I'd rather get it out of the way. I'd suspend him now if I was the Chiefs. Just suspend him. Maybe they'll take it into account. Joshua Clayton says false. He doesn't care about numbers. Interesting. So you think we're in the, speaking of, Taylor Swift and eras, you think we're in like Travis's 700 to 900 yard era where he just doesn't get utilized a ton. They put him in key situations, not a ton, but like not like he was before. Other guys start picking up the burden, and then he's there, to be Travis in the playoffs, Super Bowl. Jose says false, but for the good. I think you're right on it. I'm going to go true. I think he's going to do it. Like he's Travis Kelce, man. Like I think if he plays less, he may be more healthy. So I think he still gets it done. They've got so many crucial games on the Chiefs schedule. I just think Travis comes through, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could deal with an injury that keeps him out. They play him significantly less. I just think he's that dude, man. I think he's got one more 1,000 yard season in him, and I think it's this year. New contract, going for the three-peat, super motivated. And if you consider that, like, he would have still gotten 1,000 yards last year despite missing games and despite the fact that the rest of the receivers were total garbage. Like he was getting mugged, he was getting double covered, and he still almost did it. I think he still got it. I think he pulls it off. Rafiq says true. Zen says he's not going to get double teamed this year. Exactly right, my friend. Jose says false, but for the good, we already read that one. Rafiq says the other wide receivers will open things up for Travis. I agree. Ruben says true. I hope he does, man. Give me more of that sweet Travis Kelce stats. Joshua says totally trash. Yeah, absolutely were. Okay, next up. Isaiah Pacheco will finally eclipse the 1,000 yard rushing barrier this season. True or false? He had 830 as a rookie and 935 last season. I believe he played 14 games for the Chiefs. This is a tough one. I'm going to go false. He hasn't done it yet. I think he's averaging, 4.8, 4.7, something like that yards per carry. I think the Chiefs are going to pass a lot this year with Xavier Worthy, and Xavier Worthy is going to be taking some handoffs and things like that. They got that guy, the rugby player. They might use him out of the backfield a little bit. I think they'll eat into Pacheco's carries a little bit. The way Pacheco runs, so physical, man. I think they want to limit him so he doesn't keep getting hurt. I think they want to be really judicious with his carries, keep him around. Like he's around 200. He might be better with like 170. If they can get some other guys to carry the load, maybe you see a little bit more mixing in CEH. They brought him back. I think he ends up around like 950 again. And they used him a bit more in the receiving game last year too, which probably kept him from getting to that 1,000. Let's see what you guys say. Conway says true. Zen says true. Joshua says true. He should have had it last season. He should have. Ruben says false. He's with me. Rafiq says true. Rafiq says, again, the wide receivers will open things up for Pacheco. That's the hope. Like, that's where, I thought we'd get a lot more big plays from Pacheco just based on his speed. He ran like a 4.3 something. And he's had a couple of them, but that's like the missing element of his game. Like, that's why I don't feel like I love Pacheco. I love his heart. I love the way he runs. And he's been an above average, like he's been really good back for them. But I don't feel like he's like a great Chiefs running back yet. And that's a high bar, man. Jamal, Larry Johnson, Marcus out, like the Nigerian Nightmare. Like I want to see him bust off a couple each season. Big runs, big runs to the house. And the way that teams have been playing the Chiefs, it makes it a little bit harder because they're back so far all the time with Mahomes. They're not, the best time to get people is like, Jamal Charles, it's 4th and 1, and they give him the ball, and everybody's up at the line of scrimmage, and he breaks a tackle, and he's gone. There's nobody there to tackle him. But I would like to see Rashee Rice use that speed a little bit more and bust off some big runs. And maybe it'll happen this year if he gets a little bit more space, even more space, without teams creeping down. Ruben says very high bar. Yeah, it is, man. That's a high bar. All right, next up. keep on the receiver track. Hollywood Brown will be the team's number one receiver and lead the group in targets and yards. Hollywood Brown will be the team's number one receiver and lead the group in targets and yards. If you think Rashee Rice is going to get suspended, then, and we're not counting Travis Kelce in this, by the way. So we're just talking receivers. If you believe Rashee Rice is going to get suspended, then I think it is a no-brainer true. Xavier Worthy's a rookie. Travis Kelce's a tight end. Who else is going to do it if it's not Hollywood Brown? So he's a veteran. If he gets on the same page with Mahomes, I think he's the clear guy. I think he goes over 1,000 yards. I think he leads the team in targets, receptions, all that stuff. Rafiq says, we hadn't had a real downfield threat since Tyreek. Agreed. Joshua says major facts. Ruben says true. Conway says true. Zen says true. Yeah, this is what they brought him in for, man. He has the potential to do it. If it's him and Rashee Rice all season long, I think it's Rashee Rice. He's got the familiarity with Mahomes. Hollywood Brown's a little bit more of a field stretcher. But I think as things are going to fall, I think they're going to really have to rely on Hollywood. If he can stay healthy, stay on the field, he's the guy this year for sure. Joshua says he's the best receiver on the team. Rafiq says false. False. If Rashee does not get suspended. I'm with you on that. I think it's Rashee if he plays the whole season. Okay. Got to keep it moving here. Next up, and let's talk about that suspension. Finally, I probably should have put this first. Rashee Rice will be suspended for at least 4 games is what I went with. I'm going true on this one. He's at least getting 4 games. It's weird because like Deshaun Watson, what did he get? Like 6? The NFL is just, who the hell knows, man, what they're going to do, how long they're going to suspend people. But I'm thinking this new incident though, man, like it's the drag racing thing was bad. I think maybe he would have gotten 4 or 5 games for that. Maybe a 5-game suspension comes down and NFLPA appeals and they get it down to 4. Now with this club thing, it's a minor thing, but like it's like it's like, dude, why don't you just keep your head down? And now there's like this other thing. I think it's at least 5 games. That's my guess. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up to 6. And I'm just not going to compare it to the Deshaun Watson thing because the NFL just forget about it. Like, just what do you think they're going to do? So I'm going true 100%. Rafiq doesn't think he gets suspended this year, so he's going false. Jose says true at least 4. Rafiq says true if it's 2025. Conway says true. Josh says 8 games at least. God, I hope not. That's a ton. Turbo says word is going around that the Las Vegas Raiders are coming for Patrick Mahomes and Max Crosby has something for him. Man, dude, I love Max Crosby. That dude, he plays so hard. He's so talented. He runs his mouth. He's the perfect Raider. Like when I say I love him, like I love to hate him. Like I want those guys on the Raiders. That's where they belong. It makes it more fun to beat them, especially when they're good. They've had a bunch of clowns over there and it was fun to beat them too. But like Max Crosby's like a worthy adversary. And the Raiders have not been a worthy adversary for a long time for the Chiefs. So it's nice to see. I like that dude. I dig him. I think it's funny. Good player. And I like watching the Chiefs beat him. Okay. Josh says the guy has a motor. He does, man. Like Conway says he's an embodiment. He's the embodiment of a Raider. He really is, man. Minus I don't think he's got a rap sheet. Maybe I'm wrong, but like that used to be the embodiment of a Raider too. But unfortunately, it's starting to become the embodiment of the Chiefs. Honest to God, man. Okay. All right. A couple more to get to here. 2024 will be Trey Smith's last season in Kansas City. 2024 will be Trey Smith's last season in Kansas City. It's coming up. They got to pay him. They got to pay Creed Humphrey. They got to pay Joe Tooney. What's going to happen with him? Interior of the offensive line. Is it going to be Trey? Do they keep Trey Smith? I'm going to go with true on this one. I don't like it, but looking at the way that the Chiefs drafted, I think it's going to be Trey Smith. I think he's going to walk. I just think it's not that I don't think the Chiefs want him, but I think there's going to be some team out there that is going to throw a bunch of money at him. And I think if the Chiefs are choosing, they'd rather pay Creed Humphrey and maybe even a veteran. Like Joe Tooney's fantastic. And you can't keep everybody. So I think Trey Smith walks. Creed is, you got a guy like Mahomes, you want to keep him together, like Peyton Manning and Jeff Saturday. I know Creed's had the low snaps, but he didn't have his best year last year. He's really, really good. He's really, really good. The operation generally runs really well with him, other than the low snaps, which I'm sure he'll be working on. And I love Trey Smith, and he's a mauler, man. He's such a good player. And I interviewed him at the Super Bowl. Super nice guy, really thoughtful. It really means a lot to him that the Chiefs drafted him and took a chance on him. But I just think, he's going to get paid, man. And if you're handing out a big contract to offensive lineman, you're going to, the center, the guard, Trey Smith's going to go. I think he's going to have a really high bar, and the Chiefs just aren't going to be able to meet it. Rafiq says true. Zen says it'll suck, but true. JB says true. Andy realized that last year. A rookie can be a good thing. Yeah. Joshua says Tooney is worth every penny. Absolutely agree. And Josh agrees that we're keeping Creed. Okay. Sad. Let's enjoy him this year and let's win another chip. And then wish him well wherever he goes. And hopefully it's not to the AFC West. Okay. Here we go. Kingsley Suamataia will start the season as the starting left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. True or false? I'm looking at the roster right now, and I got to say true. He's going to go in there. He's going to compete with Wanya Morris. Right now, if they brought back Donovan Smith, I would be saying false. But they have not done that yet. There's still time. It's just May. Maybe they want to get a look at him. Rafiq says true. Zen says it will suck, but true. Wait, no, that was the old. That could be applied to this though, because he could not be good as a rookie. That was the last one that Zen said. Ruben says true. Zen says true. Joshua Clayton says false. Morris gets it. Interesting. I like Wanya. Wanya's been on the show too, and he was a really nice guy. He takes more experience, obviously. I think Kingsley has maybe potentially higher upside. Both of these guys are really talented, though. They could end up being the tackles for the Chiefs at some point, right and left. Kingsley's really interesting, man. How quick can he get up to speed? Do you want to go into the season with a rookie left? They were going to put Jawan Taylor there last year, and that they signed Donovan Smith. I don't know, man. I don't know how it plays out. What if he's really bad and they're like, he's not ready, Wanya's not ready? What do they do? Do they try to go get Donovan Smith back? Do they move Jawan Taylor over to the left side? Or do they just roll the dice with him and go for it? I don't know. Conway says true. Joshua Clayton says they will be the future right and left tackles. Very well could be. Jawan Taylor's got a big contract. I forget when the outs are, but it's going to be interesting. That's the biggest thing for me heading into the season is other than the Rashee Rice situation, is what's the deal at left tackle? Boy, it makes me nervous to put a rookie that was not like a high first-round pick at left tackle for the Chiefs. But Andy Reid, man, offensive lineman, Andy Heck, I trust these guys. Let's see how it goes. All right, couple more. George Karlaftis will have more sacks than Chris Jones. George Karlaftis, more sacks than Chris Jones. True or false? I'm going to go true on this one. I think Chris Jones still great, still brilliant. He's still going to be commanding those double teams, but I think this is the season where Furious George makes the leap. It's year 3. He's been consistent, high motor guy. I think he's going to make the leap this year. 2 seasons, and he's played a lot of football. Remember that, because they've won the Super Bowl every year that he has been in the league. So he's gotten all the extra games at this point. Almost like another, half a season or something of football for George. He conditioning, 3rd year in NFL conditioning program, playing the extra games. I think this is the year. I think George Karlaftis breaks it. These pass rushers, they don't always come in. Chris Jones wasn't like a dominant pass rusher really early in his career. He got close to the end of that first contract, and he became Chris Jones. So For me, I think Karlaftis makes the leap this year. I don't think he becomes a better player than Chris Jones necessarily, but from a sack standpoint, he's always there. He's always there to clean up when Chris Jones gets pressure. I think he improves a little bit himself, and I think that will get him the lead in sacks for the Chiefs overall. Let's see what you guys think. I got a false from Ruben, a true from Rafiq, a true from Conway, a false from JB. Mahomes has learned to spread the ball around and take what you can get. Maybe he's responding to something else. Furious George getting 14 this year from Josh Clayton. Okay, I'm down, man. Zen says true. Conway says Chris Jones will be double teamed, leaves an opening for George. Yeah, like Chris, I think Chris is at the fourth quarter era. He has been maybe for a year or so. And I think George still has a lot to prove, even though he's been, good for the Chiefs. He's going to be working. He's younger. Chris Jones is waiting for the impact plays a little bit and he knows it's a long season and he knows the end game and all that stuff. So give me true. Give me Furious George. Okay. The Chiefs will sweep the AFC West. True or false? The Chiefs will sweep the AFC West. I'm going to go false on this one, man. Like, they just always lose some stupid, like they lost to Denver last year. I know the receiver thing. I think they're going to be really good this year with the receivers. And I think they should sweep the AFC West, but I think Harbaugh is going to get them in LA, one of those games. In LA. I think that I just think with Herbert, he's a really good coach. And the thing about Harbaugh, man, and I just watched him because I'm an Ohio State fan, and I watched him finally figure out and crack Ohio State when Ryan Day took over. And Ohio State got really finesse and kind of soft, and their defense wasn't as good. And Harbaugh built a tough team, and he just didn't care, man. He'd run it 13 times in a row or something. Like, if Ohio State couldn't stop him, he'd run it down their throats, run it down their throats. Run defense has been an issue for the Chiefs. And, like, he's not like – he will come in. He'll do it, man. He'll run. He'll stick to, like, he'll do what Kyle Shanahan just never does. Kyle Shanahan in that first Super Bowl had the Chiefs, and they couldn't stop the run. They were running it with the friggin' fullback and stuff. And then he started freaking out and passing the ball and stuff. And I think Harbaugh will get them. But, like, I think they should sweep Denver. I think they should sweep the Raiders easily. But I think they may drop onto the Chargers. Could be a last game of the season situation. They like to put some of those late. Let's see what you guys think. Ruben says false. Joshua Clayton says false. Go 3-3 in division games. They're tough. 3-3, man. I don't know about that. Spence says false. Rafiq says true. Conway says they didn't do well enough in the draft and free agency so far. That's fair. That's a fair point to make up for their losses. That they're not going to have, but he'll play a good style. Like, I think he's a good coach. He's a good motivator. He'll get the most out of those guys. We'll see, though. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going false. Chiefs don't get the sweep this year. Okay. Last one. Patrick Mahomes. I thought about going the full boat with this one, but I thought this might be a little bit more interesting. Patrick Mahomes will finish in the top 3 in the MVP voting this year. Top 3. I don't believe he was last year. Not a great season for Mahomes by his insane standards. Still won the Super Bowl because he's the GOAT. Will he finish in the top 3 this year? Is this like the bounce back year for Mahomes? He gets the receiver situation figured out. Not happy with his statistics last year. So he goes scorched earth. Like, sometimes these guys, like, petty Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers did this, like, people think you're toast, and then so they go and they just want to win the MVP. And like Tyreek leaves, Mahomes goes scorched earth, wins the MVP because everybody's saying he couldn't do it without Tyreek. This year's weird, though, from a motivation standpoint. I mean, he's got 3 Super Bowl MVPs. He's got 2 MVPs, 3 Super Bowl rings. Does Patrick Mahomes care about the MVP in the regular season anymore at this point? Like, he has got nothing to prove in the regular season. He's petty, right? But does he have anything to prove? He's the unquestioned best quarterback in the NFL. Nobody's spouting any of that crap anymore. And he's going for the 3-peat. And is his mind on not stuff in the stat sheet to win the MVP, but is his mind on doing what nobody has ever done before, winning the third Super Bowl? And to do that, I need to take care of the football. I need to take what the defenses give me, and I need to win as many games as possible and get the number 1 seed to shorten my road. And that might mean not going nutso on the stat sheet, protecting leads in the second half. You know what I mean? Not playing in as many close games, but just like going and getting the lead, protecting it. Let's see what you guys think. I'm going to go, but I'm going to go true because he's Patrick Mahomes. And I said top 3. So that's my answer. I'm going to go true. I don't think he'll win the MVP, but I think he'll still finish there because I think the Chiefs will win a lot of games. I think he's going to go for that number 1 seed, maybe like he hasn't before. AFC's really crowded, man, with these quarterbacks. Spence says, true, Mahomes definitely finishing top 3. Josh says him and Kelsey want that third bad. Yeah, man, that's what their eyes on that ball. Conway says, I think he does both. All right, bring it, man. Rafiq says, true, better weapons this year for Mahomes MVP. That'd be fantastic. Kelsey said he wants 4 rings like Gronk. Joshua Clayton said that. Spence says more offensive firepower, has to finish top 3. Yeah, look, I think he's going to finish top 3. A lot of picks last year and all that, and like not as many. He's going to look like the Mahomes we've seen in his more prolific seasons. I think that alone gets him into the top 3. And because the Chiefs lost a lot of games last year because of the receivers and the offensive issues that they had, I think they're going to be more like the 14-2 Chiefs that lost the Super Bowl to the Buccaneers in terms of the regular season. They're very talented. It's a very good defense. Even with the loss of Snead, the offense is better. And you got Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, the whole coaching staff comes back, and they are going for history this season, going for the three-peat. They're going to win a lot of games. He's going to be there. But like somebody else will go ballistic stat-wise, right? Like Aaron Rodgers will come back and he'll throw a bunch of touchdowns. And that's all anybody cares about when they're voting for MVP anyway, is what's your touchdown to interception ratio. That's pretty much how they decide it. And nobody else even gets considered. So I could see a situation where, the Chiefs matriculate the ball. He doesn't maybe throw as many touchdown passes as somebody else. They win a lot of games. He's in the top 3, but he doesn't win the MVP. All right. I think that was it. I've been talking to you guys for an hour. I always think the shows would go shorter when I'm by myself, but I'll never underestimate my ability to talk again. The people who know me wouldn't, that's for sure. Guys, I appreciate you so much. This was such a fun show. Thank you especially to Zen and Josh and Conway and Rafiq and Spence and everybody in the chat. Conway, Jose, you guys are awesome, man. Gearhead, thank you for participating. It's not any easy feat to do an hour plus of solo Chiefs talk. And I love the interactive shows with you guys. You're the reason I'm here anyway. So this was awesome. So look, here's the schedule, y'all. Next week, we'll be back with our regularly scheduled Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday show. Fergram will be there on Thursday. I will probably be there on Thursday for a little farewell show. And if you guys want to support the show, lots of ways to do it. 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. Leave a written review. That's key. And ask a question, and we'll answer it on the show. You can like this video that you're watching right now. If you're not subscribed to the Arrowhead Addict podcast on YouTube, do that. You can support us by signing up for that deal I mentioned earlier about Caesars. That's on the screen for you right now if you use our code Arrow1000. Or a really cool way to do it is to become a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. We've got 3 levels. One of them is pretty cheap, but it gets you access to our private Discord. We'll be starting up the Fantasy Football League for members again soon, like all this fun stuff that we do. And actually, we're even going to be doing for our members, and I got to announce this in the Discord. My wife is due technically June 4th. Okay, so we're going to be doing a little pool for our members. The one who gets closest to the birth date here is going to get a prize from Arrowhead Addict, a shirt or something like that. So these fun things that we do. And it's cool because the guys in the Discord are like some of my better friends. Just fun to hop in there and talk about movies and beer, football, and it's lit in there during the season. Especially we watch the games together and comment on them live. So check out the link in the description. It's a great way to support this content. We're part of a big company here at Fansided, but we invest every penny of the Arrowhead Addict podcast back into the show. So when you guys do that, you're not supporting anybody's profits. We use that money to pay Sterling, who's not a full-time employee, to pay other, of our independent contractors, Adam Best. So, and it helps us bring you more great Chiefs coverage and helps us expand the show. So thank you so much for everything you guys do for us. It was really fun talking Chiefs with you today. Have a wonderful weekend. Be careful out there. A lot of tornadoes, a lot of storms going on. Make me a little bit nervous here in Chicago. But I'll see you guys next week, almost certainly. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.